We'd like to welcome everybody to Cache County Council.
I don't like that thing.
You'll get it someday. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and start with our opening. We'll turn it over to Councilman Mark Hurd.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. Just real quick, I'd like to give what I think to be an inspirational thought, and then also include an opening prayer in my remarks. So, the thought is a quote from a fictional character in one of Tolkien's books, but the quote is, "Statecraft is the art of attending to small matters as diligently as grand ones." And the reminder for myself is to make sure that I'm putting forth the effort on all parts of my stewardship or responsibility as an elected official, not just the matters that are public or glaring and obvious, but the little details matter too. And also, if you'll join me in a prayer. Our Father in heaven, we are grateful to be gathered here today for the meeting of the Cache County Council and to discuss the matters on the agenda and the business of the residents of Cache County. We're grateful, Father, for the means that we have and the blessings and opportunities we have available to us to participate in our local government and to be engaged as citizens one with another. We pray for inspiration and guidance from Thee to be ever present in the actions and functions of Cache County. We pray for knowledge and understanding to be with those of us tasked with making decisions, that our minds will be clear to that which is in line with the right and correct application of the law and within the bounds of the Constitution. We're grateful, Father, for our families. We pray that Thou will be ever mindful of them and continually watch over them and bless them with health and strength and the means necessary to conduct the lives they desire. We're grateful, Father, for all we have. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Also, if you'll rise and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Step over here. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hurd. Let's go ahead and I'll entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second it.
Moving second that we approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. How about the review and approval of the minutes? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moving second that we approve the minutes from May 23rd, 2023. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Motion passes. Executive Zook.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the first item on my report today, I'd like to introduce our new Development Services Director at Beachtown Board, Stephen Nelson. He was appointed previously, and council for supporting that. Stephen started just over a week ago, and we're really happy to have him in Development Services now. Stephen comes to us with a wealth of experience in his field. He has a bachelor's degree from Utah State University, a master's in public administration from Villanova University, has his AICP certification from the American Planners Association, and has a lot of experience in fast-growing communities around our state. And I'm looking forward to him bringing that experience, planning, and developing ordinances and dealing with growth. And we're really glad that he's here to help us out. So just wanted to formally introduce him and welcome him to our county family. Thanks, Stephen.
Okay.
And then just a couple of things. Wanted to thank staff, and I think Councilmember Hurd, we had a meeting last week about Inland Port, and maybe you can talk a little bit more about that in your report later. We had our inaugural Open Space Advisory Committee meeting on June 5th, and Councilmember Buse came to that, and was excited to see that group moving forward and getting going with that project. We had a library board meeting a little over a week ago, library meeting, just looking at the building in River Heights. They're looking at the potential for using that space. I think it'd be good maybe for the council to have a discussion or a meeting about that at some point. They're still kind of formulating a plan and figuring out if they want to make a formal proposal, but just as a heads up, they may be coming to you and telling you about some of their ideas at some point in relation to the county library. And then the last item I just wanted to report on, I attended the Northern Utah Conference to End Violence about a week ago, and it was up at Utah State University. It was a great event, and just particularly wanted to point out our county attorney, Dane Murray, was one of the presenters there and presented on some of the approaches that he's been taking in his office and that he's been training other prosecutors around the state and around the nation to take some better approaches at prosecuting and convicting violent criminals. It was nice to see our county attorney there leading in this effort and being showcased as a success story. So I just wanted to thank and congratulate him on that presentation. It was a great presentation. And that concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you. Items of special interest, 6A. We'll ask, who is the main spokesman? You're all waiting. Mont, okay.
They always do that. Morgan, you've been here before. All of you, you in order.
No, we're not.
It is. Come up and present yourselves to the council and state who, where you're from, your parents, and that. Okay. And then did you want to have Morgan do her speech?
We will entertain that, you bet.
Okay, so after we've done that, and you've all been introduced, and they have some questions for you, then Morgan, would you do that, please?
Yes, I'd love to.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, I guess I'll start. So, like, I remember. Come right here. Alrighty. So I'm Morgan Perkins. I'm the Cache County Fair and Rodeo Queen. My parents are Shane and Leslie Perkins, and I'm from Amalga, so just a small little town. Y'all know where that is, hopefully. And so yeah, and I'm 24 years old, and I'm a student up at Utah State. So.
My name's Kendall Reeder, and I'm the daughter of Bill and the late Mackenzie Reeder from Wellsville, Utah.
My name's Stacey Merrill. I'm the second attendant, and I'm from Triton, Triton, Utah, the daughter of Donnie and Melissa Merrill.
My name is Lena Miller, and I'm from Corinne, Utah, and my parents are Ray and Krista Miller, and I am Cache County 2023 Junior Princess.
My name is Abby Spencer. I am the junior queen. I'm from Honeyville, Utah. My parents are Devin and Scott Spencer.
I'm Grace Christensen. My parents are Roxy and Mike Christensen. I'm from Nibley, Utah, and I am the junior Cache County princess. Wait, no, not the junior, the princess. My bad.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so I forgot that we gave our speeches. I'm getting prepped for Miss Rodeo Utah, and there we give an extemporaneous speech. So we're given a topic, 3 topics. We choose one, and then we get 10 minutes to figure out kind of our topic, and then we give a 1.5-minute speech on it. But I do have the one that I did give for our contest memorized, so I can give that to you all today. But before I do that, I just want to thank you all so much for letting us come and be a part of your executive council meetings and just kind of show our faces. We really do appreciate all that you as a county do for us, and being the Cache County Fair and Rodeo Queen has always been a dream of mine ever since I was like 8 years old and starting at the junior princess level. And so it's super awesome to come full circle and see where I'm at now and where I'm going. So here it is. Welcome, rodeo fans, to the Cache County Fair and Rodeo. Let's take a moment to welcome an enduring symbol of freedom to the arena, Old Glory. Waving his stride, that beautiful horse center stage on the arena floor, Old Glory stands tall, basking in the sun. With her stars and stripes of red and white, she reminds us of those who were unafraid to fight. Our flag has withstood the good and the bad. From the battlegrounds to the rodeo grounds, she reminds us of our past and stands watch over our future. An enduring symbol of freedom that can never be taken away is the love of God that is felt here today. Because in the words of Aaron Watson, God loves cowboys. From the old cowboy here to relive his glory days, to the cotton candy covered kids in oversized cowboy hats, ready to cheer on our heroes, we stand hand over heart, paying tribute to her and to those who fought bravely by her side. You won't see cowboys in the back taking a knee. They removed those dusty resistol hats, standing proud. Even the rodeo's four-legged athletes show her the respect she deserves. These strong, determined animals stand still, as if to say, we are kindred spirits. Now, I don't know about you, but when I see the flags waving in the breeze, instantly my mind thinks of the drop and kick of a great bucking horse. Old Glory reminds us that this country ain't perfect, but thank God she's still free. Just like every cowboy, she's gonna make her comeback. Yes, sir, just you wait and see. From dawn's early light to arena lights, there she stands, proud and strong. Ladies and gentlemen, as Old Glory exits the arena today, I want you to know that we are proud to be Americans in one nation under God. We are grateful to be proud and strong. Cowboys, let's ride. My speech, that's my little thing, but yet that's the biggest reason why I am a rodeo queen is because of the Cache County Fair and Rodeo and how awesome we do get to represent our freedom through it. So I'll turn the time over to whoever is next, but thank you all so much for letting us be here.
Okay. We're going to have you stand again because they're going to grill you on questions.
That's not true, is it? You scared these
No.
poor girls for nothing.
Well, actually, I got one question. If you were about the Cache County Fair, what is unique about the Cache County Fair over other fairs or rodeos or other places that you've been? And if you just share one thing, let's start. Where should we start? Let's down here on. Go ahead, Christensen.
Yes.
Right. Go ahead.
I like how, like a lot of people there, and I like how we, at the very beginning, I know last year they put like a horse, like the horse that was not being ridden was like represented the people that went to war and have died. I really like that. I thought that was very patriotic, and I really do like the patriotism that goes on over there.
Thank you.
I like all the different diets, and one of my favorite things about the fair and rodeo in Cache County is the grounds and like how pretty it is and just the energy of like the place and the people.
I love how everyone lifts everyone else up, like unlike any other fair and rodeos that I've been to, and that they don't care where you're from or how much you do.
I love how united and how like holy it is.
Yeah, I love like being around my friends and family because it is the hometown rodeo and they do support like suicide prevention and patriotism and stuff like that.
Yeah, I just love the Cache County Fair and Rodeo. So I grew up showing cattle and livestock, and actually Dave was one of my FFA teachers back forever and 5 years ago when he was still teaching and I was still in high school. But one thing that I've loved about the Cache County Fair and Rodeo is we're celebrating 145 years. We're an old fair. We're here, you know, we're one of the oldest in the state, and how awesome that we get to be able to recognize that and come together as a family. I also love our fairgrounds. As you can go to any other place, there's not all the trees in the river that runs through the fairgrounds at a lot of places. If you go over to Bear, Box Elder, it's just straight asphalt. And how exciting that we as a fair and also as a county that we get to show how our amazing land looks and that we can keep it and preserve it for our time to come and also have shade for everyone while they're there.
I appreciate those answers. You just basically told me there's something for everybody. That's neat. Other questions that you would have? Any of the rest of the council?
I have a question. Can I have a copy of your talk?
Yes.
Your-
I'd love to.
I really like that.
Thank you.
I'd
Are
really
you
like
going to
that.
give it in church?
No, no, but
I actually wrote it myself. So,
yeah, I'd really like a copy of it. That was awesome. Awesome.
I have a question, and I would just ask, I just got reminded that the people online can't hear you, so maybe if you could answer with the microphone. But some people might say that the county fair and rodeo are outdated and old-fashioned. What would you say is the value to our youth today in continuing with our fair and rodeo?
Yeah, so can you repeat that one more time,
What would
sorry?
you say is the value to our youth today in continuing our fair and rodeo?
Yeah, I think the biggest value is that we get to have an opportunity to get outside our homes. A lot of the youth today, I work at a school right now at Fast Forward, and a lot of our students really just kind of sit at home. And so an opportunity to come to the fair is an opportunity to see different places inside our county and to be able to find and understand ways that they can get out and get involved. So, what about you?
I feel like we have a lot of different opportunities at the fair. Like we have 4-H projects, FFA projects that can also help us with responsibility and stuff like that.
I think like the previous girl said before, just getting involved and being just involved with hard work and responsibilities and things like that.
I think it's a value to meet new people if they haven't been outside, to be able to meet new people and get out of their comfort zones.
I think the older values that aren't very easy to learn, such as honesty and hard work, are really learned when you come to the fair or show an animal. It's really easy to learn those values. I know it gets a lot of the Western life. Kids sometimes don't know that lifestyle. I know I didn't know that when I was 5 years old. I haven't been riding for very long, and in the Western life, so it gives the young kids an opportunity to get that lifestyle and understand the lifestyle.
Thank you.
Good.
Congratulations to you all.
Thank you.
Any other questions here?
Request, can they stay through the whole council meeting? They add beauty to us. So.
They don't want
Too, but we got some autograph photos to go get.
Oh, darn.
Quick answer,
Yeah. Plus, we know how exciting it is. So, other input that you four would like at all? And you need to be up here.
We can't pass the mic to you. You gotta consider it.
That's the first time he's ever taken his hat off for me, so.
No, he took it off.
That's right.
Scott and Trish and I, and Lane's been on now since he's working over the fair part. We've done this for a long time. And we really appreciate the support. We've come a long ways, so we've probably been here with, they can correct me, but I think I'll be pretty accurate, probably about 23 of these royalties. And as it's progressed, I could even get emotional. If you've been through the whole thing with the girls that aren't here, but the caliber of girls that are here and which you gathered, and the ones that aren't here is equal. But the fair is so important to this community and lifestyle. I realize it means a lot to me, but we have brought it a long ways to the kids. If I go back about, oh my goodness, I hate to do it, but about 40 years, when my boy first showed his steer here, there was 17 steers. And Dave, you and I know what we're talking about, and to all of you. And now that, I haven't got the numbers exactly, but I'll be close. Lane can correct me, but I think we've weighed in the last few years and tagged in close to 70. Probably 300 plus, right, laying on sheep. Goats, we're probably close to that now. And hogs, similar. We have the dairy. So you add that up, that's a lot of kids in this part on the junior livestock. But then if you go into the home arts, those other things, the 4-H, the sewing and those other things that the kids do, we're talking thousands of kids in this community. And the money we spend on it, and I'm just happy that this rodeo and other things have grown to where it pays for it. There are very few that cover their own costs in the country. It's a rarity. And so I'll add that so you kind of have an idea. We have a lot of new members here, I know now, but that's the history. These girls represent us well wherever they go. And this year, our queen will be representing us at the Miss Utah pageant for the Miss Rodeo Utah. I got to get that right because I only think rodeo. So we're happy there. But we've also, last year, one of our past queens was in Vegas, and it was fun to have her there. She'd been here and then into Idaho, representing Idaho to try out for Miss Rodeo America. And so, top-notch girls, that's all I can say. And I appreciate every one of them and how they support us and what they do. I'm just happy to be along for the ride.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We really appreciate that. We appreciate all the serious effort and sacrifice that's put in for this county celebration. I've always known it's a celebration like no other. So we appreciate that. And we thank you. Thank you for representing Cache County as a whole, the rodeo fair, everything. And we hope you'll have success in the next 365 days. So thank you very much. Any other input? Okay, well, if you'd like, you're welcome to stay. But I wouldn't if I were you.
The door is open after your autographs and photographs.
Could you guys actually go ahead and come right up here? And so that we get the photo moms out there? Would you probably like a little picture here?
Well, we want to see your faces too.
We'll try to stand up.
Okay.
Yeah, just come right up here in front.
It'll look better that way.
And why don't we all just stand up right behind him?
I don't want to be in the middle.
You're fine. You're fine. Can you see?
Yes.
Just take a picture and I knew the moms would want this.
How did you know? Thank you so much.
The moms want the girls, not us.
No, some of those moms are my past students too, so. Thank you very much. You have a good day.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't forget it. I want that that speech.
I don't want to actually.
We'll see you.
Use photo tickets.
Okay.
We'll talk to you later. See you. Well, I got a dartboard at home. Come on. Good. Let's go to 6B. I'm going to actually go right back to Dr. Hurd. This is, are we going to ever bury anyone in Hyde Park?
Well, so my opening included a reminder to pay attention to all small details.
We'll get her.
And this is something you may recognize. We actually did take the action in a council meeting before to make the appointment for these 3 board members to the Hyde Park Cemetery Maintenance Board. However, in this being my first, I did not get the full detail that we had a notice requirement, that we had to publicly notice these positions being open and then have that period open for an extended amount of time, as well as publicly posting in the Hyde Park Cemetery boundary the notice, and I had overlooked that. So to correct that oversight, we're here to re-propose the appointment of the 3 board members, Portia Anderson, Maren Hearns, and Jolene Kirby, as members of the Hyde Park Cemetery Maintenance Board.
The form of a motion?
Yes, I'm so moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moving second that we appoint those, I didn't hear all the names, but as the Hyde Park Cemetery Board, yeah, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's official now.
Okay, it's officially official.
Thank you very much. I think we're close enough here to 5:30 for 9A and B. I'll entertain motions to set those 2 public hearings.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move that we set a public hearing for June 27th for Resolution 2023-06, opening of the 2023 budget.
And
Would you like to just let's do both of them together?
Okay. And then I also would move that we set a public hearing for that same night, June 27th, for Resolution 2023-07, multi-jurisdictional access to 1400 West and acceptance of a new right-of-way.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded of the stated two public hearings for June 27th. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is unanimous. Let's go ahead on down to 10A. Ordinance amending and modifying the composition of the audit committee. Okay, Micah?
All right, so we discussed this a few weeks ago at our last meeting. This is a ordinance that simply codifies the current existing makeup of the audit committee. Right now, the code simply says there has to be at least 2 council members on the audit committee, nothing else. This clarifies that it will be 3 members of the county council, the county executive, and then the citizen appointee. And then this version that you have today describes the citizen appointee's position as a 2-year term that is renewable, and he's nominated by the county executive with advice and consent of the council. The council can remove the citizen appointee with the majority. And then finally, this version also adds that the chair of the audit committee must be from the county council, which again is how it is now with Chairman Ward being the chair of the. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a maximum of terms? Because it says here the citizen appointee shall serve for terms lasting 2 years, but.
So it says.
On terms on the citizen?
In this version, it's renewable, so there's no limit, there's no term limits.
Maybe it's like the Hyde Park Cemetery Board.
Are you on until you join the other
The only way you're out
residents
is
of
if
the
you're in
cemetery?
it.
People are dying to get in it.
No, it's any other, that's a good question. Any other questions, thoughts, actions? I guess no, actually we'll, it is under pending action, so we can do what we need to there.
Yeah, I think these are the changes that I had mentioned I'd wanted the last meeting, so thank you to staff and committee for putting that together.
Make a motion to approve this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Second.
And because it is pending action, we don't need to waive the rules on this one.
Right.
An ordinance amending, it is moved and seconded that we pass ordinance 2023-20, amending and modifying the composition of audit committee. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Ordinance 2023-21, an ordinance amending 8.20, updating the solid waste regulations.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about this again. As you may recall, we discussed what is essentially a total overhaul of this section of our code. Previous code dealt primarily with service area number 1, which, as you know, is no longer functioning. And so we, in our last time that we spoke, we made a couple of adjustments, making the language a little bit more precise. And in ordinance and policy meeting today, we confirmed a couple of things that we are going to have. Let's see if I can plug in. Okay. So this is what we saw last time, that a person who violates any of the provisions of this chapter is guilty of a Class C misdemeanor, and we discussed that this possibly wasn't going to be enough of a deterrent, and so my recommendation is to amend what's currently in your packet to what reads as follows. A person who violates any of the provisions of this chapter is guilty of a Class C misdemeanor, and shall be fined not more than $750 for each violation, or imprisoned for no more than 90 days. That's the standard maximum punishment for a Class C misdemeanor, just for your information. And a person who repeats any violation of this chapter after conviction of a first violation is guilty of a Class B misdemeanor, and then it shall be fined, and this is again the standard maximum punishment for a Class B misdemeanor, not more than $1,000 and or imprisoned not more than 6 months for each violation. So we discussed beefing that up. This is my recommendation of how you could beef that up in a way that's consistent with Utah code.
So that verbiage is not in our packet.
That's correct.
Yeah, it is.
The second.
There's two versions, yeah.
But the one on the agenda is not this one.
Yeah,
So
it-
so we would need to amend what.
Sorry. I know you.
10B1 in the packet.
Chair, can I ask a question?
You bet, please.
So, given that, I was wondering and would like to see that if there was disposal of hazardous material, that it have a greater fine?
So Utah, our
batteries.
state code has a number of punishments for hazardous waste. So that would be oils, tires, batteries, acids, solvents,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. There are punishments under our state code covering those hazardous
on ours
waste.
here?
And that would apply whether or not it's in our county code.
Okay.
That applies statewide, yes.
And then Taylor, in meeting this morning, you mentioned 5 about
Yes.
disposal, just so we're clear on that.
Correct. We did discuss last time, under our state code, disposal of the carcass of a dead animal by burying it on your own property of a bovine, horse, mule, goat, sheep, bird, or swine is permitted under state code. And we added for our county, canines and felines, so dogs and cats,
Thank you.
or I suppose jaguars and wolves. Not many of those.
Any other questions? How do you feel?
That answered the concerns we had last time.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have to amend this?
If we, in the motion, that we accept the amended version.
Okay. Okay, I move that we accept the amendment and approve ordinance 2023-21, an ordinance amending 8.20, updating solid waste regulations.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded that we approve the amended version of 2023-21. All those, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you, Taylor, for all your work on that. When there's that much red, you've done a lot of work. So, okay, thanks for the lights there. Let's go on down to the initial proposals for consideration of action, ordinance 2023-19, updating the requirements for the county auditor's monthly examination of county finances. Micah, would you?
Yeah. So currently in county code, the county auditor is required to conduct a monthly review of all, let me make sure I'm getting the verbiage right, an examination of the books and accounts of all county officers, departments, agencies, or any district, interlocal entity, or authority in which the county is a constituent member each month. So what this ordinance does is it adds expense reports to that list of required documents, required examinations by the county auditor, and then it requires the auditor to submit that examination specifically of the expense reports to the county council, certifying that all expenses on that expense report comply with authorized budgets, county code, state law, and generally accepted accounting principles, and then reporting any expenses that may be in conflict. So the idea, so right now we already receive an expense report every month, and that comes, right now it comes from finance. This would change that it would then come from the auditor's office rather than finance. And it would come with a certification that those expenses are, either they comply with authorized budgets, code, and accounting principles, or they do not. And so the idea is to kind of provide some checks and balances and increase the communication between the county auditor and the county council.
Thank you. Questions?
I think it's a very good thing. The one, I guess it's not really a question, but a concern that I had is our county, and I've talked about this with some of the other council members, if we, the council or the county auditor is an elected position who may or may not have an accounting background. And so I like the part in here where it says they can assign that to someone else in their office as long as they are overseeing it. So I think that covers that, because then we need to make sure that we have hired somebody with the ability to read those expense reports and understand journal entries.
Good.
Just a clarification, you talked about that report comes from the finance office now.
Yeah.
I would think it would still come from the finance office, but the clerk is verifying and checking off those, correct?
Right. There really wouldn't be any change
Right.
as far as what the finance office is doing. They just need to make sure that expense report is available to the auditor, which it already is. The auditor has access to all that information anyway.
Okay.
I think this gives us some needed oversight.
It's that level of review right there that we haven't had and has not occurred, that we need to have occur, which is the number one duty of auditor for Cache County. So, okay. Any other input? It is an initial proposal, but we will entertain a motion if you'd like.
Mr. Chair, I will waive the rules and propose that we accept the ordinance 2023-19 and ordinance amending 3.32.050, updating the requirements for the county auditor's monthly examination of county finances.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded that we waive the rules and pass ordinance 2023-19 on that amending of 3.32.050, amending the requirements for the county auditor's monthly examination of the county finances. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you very much. 12A, discussion and review of the ARPA applications. Who is going to present them? Okay, Alma.
So you have before you several applications. These are all from departments in the county. I believe there's about, 12 to 15. I didn't count to see how many, but you should have the total funding requests for each of them and the total overall requests. There should be a printout there for the amounts available and the remainder for future allocations. There's also a summary of each of the ones with the department, the title, the amount of their request, the amendment number so that it ties to the amendment on the budget, and then just a brief summary. So Cameron and I have gone through each of them and looked at the final rule, the overview of the ARPA, and given the justification there, or that's the documentation. So you've had an opportunity to review all of the applications, the summaries. Is there any questions that you might have?
And this also came through the
Budget committee.
Yes.
Also vetted everything.
Yes.
And gave their input. And I think some were actually deleted or did not.
Some were removed because they were ineligible.
Eligible, okay. Any questions on those?
So,
Go ahead, yeah, you bet, you're welcome
so
to.
as we look through the request totals, the total that was requested in this, what's being presented this evening, is just under $2 million.
Correct.
But I see, I know I've been in, as the liaison to the recorder's office, I know they have that larger request that they had for digitizing, or excuse me, preserving, imaging, and rehousing the historical documents. That was taken out, that was not considered by the committee. It's in the applications, but not included in the.
That's correct. The request was larger, but the part for preserving does not qualify under ARPA. It's just the part that the 98,300 is the only part that qualifies because they will be able to put them digitize them so that they are accessible to people outside and others, so that there is that social distancing. A lot of it has to tie back to pandemic type rules. I know the pandemic is officially declared over, but ARPA still falls under that, and we still have to look at those requirements.
Okay, so, and maybe that's just where I need a little bit of clarification. I thought some of it was restricted and some of it was unrestricted, but they all still have to follow the rules
As far as the ARPA money,
as far as the ARPA
Yeah.
money. So yeah, maybe if you could just clarify what
Okay.
restricted versus unrestricted.
So each county, as they received an amount of money, there was what's called a standard allowance, and it's up to $10 million. Our allotment was nearly $25 million, and so the unrestricted is the $10 million. The request that we have pushed through, gone to the budget committee, and have come to you, we are just looking at the restricted portion. The unrestricted, up to the 10 million can be used on any government services except paying debt and a couple of other.
And the unrestricted portion was reported last year that it was
Yes.
used for sheriff's salaries, public safety salaries.
So the total amount that's still available to us is what's on this summary of, or request totals.
That's right, and this,
A little over 5 million, 5.1.
right, and that's of the restricted amount. The other portion has already gone into projects and they are currently being worked on right now.
So even after, if the council were to approve all of these latest requests in the budget amendment that's coming at your next meeting, then there would still be this amount, the 3.2 million available to spend.
Correct. But it will still be subject to the restrictive rules.
To be qualified as something justifiable with
Correct.
what the funds are intended for.
There's the final rule, and then there's an overview that we look at, and we just, and like Cameron, I think he's given the example, you have to look at each one individually. So we receive each application, we have to go through it, review it, and make sure that we can find the justification in the final rule or the overview of the final rule.
Sorry, as a
No,
follow-up
no,
question,
go
we
ahead.
have this $3.2 million, and we have a timeline.
Correct.
So what is our plan? And that might not be a question for you, this might be a question for my fellow council members.
Just to remind you of the timeline, it has to be obligated by the end of 2024, December 31st, 2024. So it has to be obligated, and then it has to be spent by the end of 26.
So what are our plans as a body for the 3.2? Open up another round of applications, or are we gonna expand?
There is another application to consider tonight for the veterans that will reduce that, but then there will be an amount left over that I believe there'll be another round of applications opened up. That's the way I understood it.
We're gonna do just to our departments within the county, or,
So
I don't know, I'm asking.
I
so
could
don't
give a
know.
little bit of background from the budget committee. We had this discussion at the budget committee and talked about whether or not we should open up whether or not we should open up these funds for applications from community organizations, nonprofit organizations. And the Budget Committee said, let's do one more round, which is this one that's before you. Let's do one more round of applications from departments and allow departments to submit their requests. And so those requests are all before you. And the thought was from the Budget Committee that let's see what other internal needs we might have that we might be able to use these funds for before we make these funds potentially available to anyone outside of the county. So the Budget Committee's thought was that after this, it might be a good idea to think about organizations outside of Cache County Corporation who might use these funds. So that is something that was done with the CARES Act money. The county did make those funds available for community organizations, even businesses, to apply for those funds under different rules. The rules were not as strict with the CARES Act, so there was more flexibility for what those funds could be used for. But I do think at this point, and I was maybe the main one in the Budget Committee advocating for the county departments to have one more shot at these funds first. But I would advocate at this point that the council consider making these funds available to nonprofit organizations, and that we have an open and competitive process for that, where they all have an opportunity to apply, and that it be a fair a fair and open process for how they're allocated. I know I heard some complaints about how that was done with CARES Act money. It was kind of a first come, first serve. It sounds like how those funds were distributed a couple of years back. And so one of the complaints I've heard from people in the community is that they didn't even know it was available, or they didn't have a chance to even apply, and maybe their need would have been greater than some of the other needs that we gave money to. So those are some thoughts from the Budget Committee.
I would like to state I'm not ready to open that up all to nonprofits, because I think we need to look at some of our communities who need some help.
Yeah, and that
and I talked about that in the Budget Committee, so I want to be careful that we're not saying there's $3 million here for nonprofits to come competing.
I appreciate you bringing that up, and I apologize for forgetting to mention that part. That was something else that was also mentioned, was not just making this available to nonprofits, but potentially to municipalities within the county. Thank you for that addition.
Yeah, because we got some communities that are looking at some water issues, sewer issues and stuff, so.
There was also a request from Public Works. It was ineligible, but I believe it was in the Budget Committee that they talked about maybe seeing if that could be revised and resubmitted on something that could be eligible.
Yeah, and my understanding is that Matt was working on restructuring that so that it would be eligible.
I think so, because that would come
And
from development
I think his intent would be to have an eligible proposal before the council amends the budget. So the thought from the Budget Committee was that the Budget Committee wanted all of this to come to the council, and that the council had plenty of time to review this, ask any questions potentially before these all come back in the budget amendment at your next meeting.
I have a question, just a clarification on the recorder request. Was that just to pay for salary of temporary people coming in to digitize, or how was that working? Or was it the buying of equipment to do the digitizing? What?
For the recorder?
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, for the recorder.
I think they have a contract with someone, an outside entity that's actually doing that work.
We just gave them $100,000 here just a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And I would love to have a status on how, and we were told that would happen within a year.
Yeah, do you remember how much he's spent some of that?
He spent about $40,000 on that by the end of 2022. I'm not sure about this year.
Yeah.
So this is in addition to that?
Yes.
For a different set of records.
Yeah, set of records. Okay. And he hasn't used all of that we approved before, is that what you're saying?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Okay, let's first look at these at hand, these ARPA applications there. Is there any concerns on those? I feel very good about what the Budget Committee's presented here. I think we can, I think it would take action that we can approve these, right?
Aren't they aren't they for next meeting when we open up the budget?
They would actually come in the budget opening, wouldn't they?
They'll come to the budget opening, but my understanding is that you could technically approve that.
Yeah.
We
Just make sure, and then they'll come into the budget opening for final.
Thank you.
So, unless there's any changes to them or. So I'll entertain a motion that we go ahead and approve these to be sent and incorporated into the budget opening.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and approve the ordinance 2023-19, an ordinance amending 3.32-050, updating the requirements for the, oh, where am I at? I'm wrong.
Just the ARPA funding request.
ARPA, sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, 12A, go ahead and approve the ARPA applications as listed.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Move second that we approve the presented ARPA applications that's been vetted by the committee there. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Then we will be waiting to hear back. I guess we'll let the budget committee and if you want to have input and talk with them and for this next round, we'll wait to hear back for the details on how they'll do on a process for the remaining funds.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Sandy, did you want to bring up anything right now, or do you just, it'll be coming to the next process?
Nope.
Should we wait for your report?
I would like to bring up
Okay.
1221-A, the Veterans Resource Center in Elma. I don't know if you want to present that and talk about that.
So the Dan Gillenskog Veterans Resource Center has been talking to the county for quite some time. They submitted an application. I don't know if you had requested an application. There was an initial fund request. But as Cameron and I went through and reviewed that, some of the things about ARPA is it has to be reasonable and it has to be connected to the pandemic. And so as we went through their application, there was only a couple of items that actually are connected to the pandemic. There's the $215,000 for the lease and $50,000 for a vehicle. The others are expenses in the future. The reason for the vehicle is in communication with the director of the resource center. They had to, because of the pandemic and a lot of things, they had to sell the vehicle that they currently had and sell that, and that's why we felt like that could be included. So their total request was over $500,000, but what qualifies under ARPA is only $265,000.
So none of the other expenses or
Yeah,
the
because
other requests qualify?
they're forward in it. The pandemic, when a nonprofit is eligible, and they are a nonprofit, but it has to be reasonable and connected to the pandemic, if that makes sense.
Can we give them the same opportunity to look at their application as we talked about on others? Because I quite like helping the veterans out on that.
So do I. Yeah, could we approve that $265,000 tonight and then allow them to redo that? And because I think some of these are the situation that the Veterans Center is in. There were several grants that they should have been available to them, that because of COVID, things happened and doors were shut that should have been open to them. And so some more of these really are related to COVID. I think the case could be made. And I feel like this would get them on their feet so that in the future, this is not going to be an ongoing expense to the county. They will be set up to continue on. And they basically have been in a building rent-free for the last not rent-free, but the landlord has generously allowed them to stay there, knowing that there is funding coming, and several things have happened that they weren't able to get grants. As far as I understand it, there was one grant that Blake Moore's office said they would be eligible for and qualified for, and they did all the work, and Blake Moore's office said they would take care of the rest of it. The person who was there was very well qualified, left on a bereavement or a sickness, and the person who came in didn't check one of the boxes right, and the Department of Defense turned it down, said you can apply next year. So they've just had several ongoing things because of COVID that have not allowed them to have the funding that they needed, that they would have been eligible for up to this point. So in my mind, that would be something they are eligible for, but that's not my determination to make. That would have to go through the budget committee. So I'd like to give them all of it tonight, but if we could at least give them the $265,000 and then let them rework that application and maybe justify some of those things better so that it is related to COVID and come back in the next round, if that's acceptable.
I'm more of the mind that we give them all, they're all very good.
Yeah, I would.
Benefits that provided to our community. I think it kind of is a little more fair to give them all a chance at the same time.
They've done so much with so little, and I just feel like they're such an important part of our community. So my motion would be that we approve the whole thing tonight.
I'm caught between the two of you. When you say, you're saying other applicants open up?
Well, not every nonprofit knew that they had the opportunity to apply, which they do have services they provide to our community. So just that this is very valid, and I'm not downplaying this application, but it doesn't seem fair that just because theirs was able to squeak in means that we're not going to give them the same consideration as we would any of the other nonprofits. Again, this is a very valid and a worthy request, but I still feel like in all fairness, we should, if we haven't even come up with how much we're going to allocate, if any, to the nonprofits in the community, so that we can give them all a fair chance to be vetted in a likewise manner.
In the process that they went through, they did not see that there was money available and that there was an application available to the county. They heard ARPA money was available to nonprofits. They called Washington, D.C. and were told, you are eligible for that, apply through your county. So then they started working with ALMA and applying through the county. It wasn't like we noticed something that only they saw. They took the initiative that any nonprofit could have and did this application. So anyway.
So I'm confused. So Catherine, are you saying just approve the one amount, like the 200, or approve the whole thing?
I'm saying let's wait until we give fair chance to all the nonprofits. We don't even know how much we want to make available to the nonprofits, because we have this amount, but we don't know. We haven't made any type of determination of how we're going to do that and how much. I'd say I'd rather wait to see. Okay. Again, the cause is worthy, but it is a worthy cause, but we don't know. We haven't made any parameters to how we want to allocate those funds yet. So maybe just wait and, in all fairness, allow the others to apply as well.
I think with what's been presented, I think we send it back to the budget committee and keep this application. And we, even if, let the budget committee put their formulation together, their proposals, let them work through it exactly, the parameters and everything, and then open it up. And this may be, they may take a portion of this to be allowed for, but let's let the budget committee work through this like we need to work through it. And then,
I feel like I'll just say one more time, these guys put in an application in good faith and were told before the county decided to only accept applications from county agencies, they started their application process when it wasn't restricted, and they were given a deadline, which they met. They went through all that process, they took the initiative, and they did it. And so I would still push to at least give them the $265,000 tonight. And then whether we can get more in the next round, then it'll be a whole group of nonprofits. But
if I could provide a little bit more background information, the budget committee did have this discussion also because we got all of these applications from departments and then one nonprofit, and some of the committee members were maybe a little confused about why do we have only one nonprofit. And so we had this discussion about how we hadn't advertised it to any nonprofits yet, but they had applied. And the budget committee said, maybe we should wait and see if we're even gonna do that. And then if we do, that we open it up to everyone. And the confusion may be, I connected the Veterans Center with Alma a few months back because I met with them about their needs, and we discussed ARPA funding, and I just said, let's find out if this would even qualify. And so that was my intent, was to have them talk to Alma and just see if it would even qualify, so that if the council decided to open this up to nonprofits, they would know if they could apply. And it seems like maybe there was some misunderstanding in that process, thinking that they could apply then. But I totally agree. I've been working with them for several months on trying to figure out how to help them. And I would like us to help them. I hope we can help them. And I think the comments I'm hearing is just that if we're going to open it up to nonprofits and or cities, that maybe we should allow all of them to apply and consider all of them at once.
That's a valid point, but we're talking veterans, people. This is what brought our freedom here, so.
I'm agreeable with Sandy. I think we should at least give them the 276. Yeah.
Okay, can we do how would you feel that if we actually, I think there's a couple representatives from the Veterans Organization here.
Yes.
Would it be okay if we gave them, say, 2 minutes each, or whoever would like to speak, and just share them what their thought process was to do the application? Would that work out?
Mm-hmm.
Could you share that? So whoever, just come up here, state your name, and just a couple minutes and share, so that we can give some clarity to this confusion, please.
My name is Phil Redlinger. I'm actually the founder and former executive director for the Cache Valley Veterans Association. A part of our mission was to open up the first ever Veterans One-Stop Center. And we've been doing some tremendous work. And we've been applying for many grants, but construction took place during COVID. A lot of things delayed our construction. Grants were delayed. Changes in eligibility for grants. You know, CARES went to COVID. COVID went to ARPA, USDA, rural facility. I mean, everybody just kind of changed the process, and we had to follow suit. I took the initiative to determine what's ARPA and how it works and how can we apply for it. And I did contact Washington, D.C., and they said we were eligible based off of that criteria. And Mr. Zook did meet with us and informed us that, you know, there is going to be some ARPA funding that we could apply for. And we actually made about 3 attempts, correct, before you guys made this change. And I got to tell you, this funding would keep the building open. I mean, we need the building, guys. We brought the VA up quarterly. You've not seen the VA up quarterly. You've never seen it. We got a place where veterans can come in and have a cup of coffee and not kill themselves. We got veterans applying for benefits. We're not the best thing in the world. We do need improvement, but we've been doing damn good work. And this funding can keep the door open. If it's not me that's going to do it, someone will. But I'm going to fight hard. And that's what I've been doing for a long time. This was my plan. And Dan Gillenskog's family is all behind us. And everybody here, you guys are answering the question. But we need that money, please. We've worked really hard for it, applied for it, put everything into it. We have new board of directors, new board of advisors. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing. And it would help.
Thank you.
Thank you.
2 minutes, please.
Good evening. I'm Wallace Odd, and I'm the president of the board of directors for the Veterans Center because they need some more help and organization. We appreciate your consideration for this money. The frustration on our part is that there was a deadline given to us as we understood it. And that deadline, I thought, was out to everybody. I fully understand being fair to all organizations in this community. We live here, and there are a lot of people doing a lot of good work. But if you're given a deadline, and you're told to have your application in, and you do that, and you do it maybe once or twice, then I think maybe it's a little unfair to say, let's do it again. If a deadline's not any good, and I've worked at all kinds of places from Pentagon to the White House and government things, if deadlines are given, then those deadlines need to be met by everybody. Now, you have to make the decision as to leaving it open, and you've got to be fair to everybody. This organization is doing a lot of good work, and we're pioneering some things. Phil asked for my help. I've been working with him along the way for a long time, just understanding as a friend and trying to help veterans. I'm a 25-year veteran Air Force officer, and I know that the work that they're doing is good for this community. We appreciate you considering it. We appreciate your thought about veterans and the other organizations in this community. I chair a couple of other organizations in this community. I know how hard our volunteers work. This young man has worked there without a salary for many months. So it would be good, do all you can to be fair and to help us and other organizations. Appreciate your service. Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate that input. I was also contacted by another organization that they were also told that they were not, I won't say eligible, but they were told not to put in an application because they were not going to be considered on this round, but they'd be putting one in later. But I think I'd entertain motion. I'd entertain what, if you want to do a two-part series to this thing. Some of it does not qualify, right now, but maybe they could put in for the rest of that later or something like that. I'll entertain a motion or input from all of the rest of the council.
I will go ahead and make a motion that we approve the 276,000, is that the amount?
265.
265, with the understanding that we need to review and listen to other nonprofits. I agree to that. How we do that, in all fairness, has yet to be determined, but my father was a veteran of World War II, and I'm like, if we don't support our veterans, then I don't know what nonprofit agency needs to be supported more than the veterans. So I will put that out, and that's my motion.
I'd like to say something.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, moving second. Now there's discussion. Go ahead.
Thank you.
You bet.
I'm very torn between this, just offering part of it to them because they have done what they needed to do to meet those requirements. They were given a deadline, and they met that deadline and put everything in that they were requested to put in. So I would almost be willing to give them the full amount on that, but that's just my feelings on it. But I will support the 265. 265. But I feel like maybe they've done enough and gone through the ringer.
I'm willing to definitely get that up, but I want them to meet the qualifications of that so that we're not coming back and saying, oops.
And I'm hoping that a refined application with some more understanding, we may be able to get the rest of that.
All right. I'm agreeable to that.
Okay, so we have it's been moved and seconded that we go ahead and approve $265,000 for this application from the American Rescue Plan Act for the veterans. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It is unanimous. We'll then forward that portion of that application again for the budget hearing in 2 weeks for final approval there. So, and then I'm sure we'll have a lot more clarity. I will say that all this flood of government money It is new for everybody. And when 25 million's dumped on you and stipulations and what you can and can't do, it is a process that we've all had to work with, and I will say that we all make mistakes. But we'll work through them, we'll get it right, and then we'll go from there. So, but at that portion, we can go ahead and move on to some other business, but at least it's in the process and we're going. We'll work through it and let the budget committee, with that information and input, let them formulate a process from there. Is that okay? Still good?
Thanks for your service and all you do.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, at that point, everyone look at 12B, C, and D. Any changes to any of those?
I'll be a maybe on the 17th. I can make it that way. Sure, if you'll have me.
You're gonna love it.
I won't be there at the 17th, so I got it covered.
Okay.
So with the change of time for the parade in Hiram, because it always used to be at noon and now it's at 10.
It's just because it's less
That's
hot.
a good change.
It's a good change.
So
So
hot.
we meet at 9:30, is that typically what we do?
Yeah, half hour before.
Yeah.
Are you running the Freedom Run?
Yes, I plan on
It's gonna
it.
be a tight.
It's gonna be a
I'm running
tight.
that too. That's
Yeah,
gonna be
you'll
tight.
have to
Oh, it's
see
all,
me on my
it's all
sleigh.
downhill. You'll be fine.
Yeah, right.
You got new hips, come and join us, Dave. Test out those new
No, I'm
hips.
going out to the flatland, so. Oh, if there is changes, anything like that, additions, we still have some time, but if you want to add to that, that's terrific. Let's start with some council member reports. Sandy?
Hey, I spent a day in Salt Lake last week for the Balance of State meeting for the local homeless council. I feel like in my role, I'm on the Bear River, or the Bragg governing board, who handles a lot. There's a homeless component there. I'm on the Bear River Local Homeless Council, also part of the what is it called? The CJCC, the the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. And they're also talking about homelessness. The veterans have a homeless. There are so many different organizations in our community that are trying to take care of the least among us that need it the most. And I'm just really grateful to be a part of all that, and I'm hoping that we can continue to coordinate it all together so that we are taking the resources and making the most of them. And I'm really proud of Cache County. I think we do a really good job, and glad to be a part of that.
Thank you, Mark.
Just only thing really to report, as mentioned by the executive, we did meet. Sandy and I met with Sean Milne and with maybe you can help me if the council needs the group from where the people are from, but with Scott from the office in charge from the state level for the inland port, and he gave us an overview of what that means, what it is, and gave us some input on what it would take to establish a project area if we were, as a county, interested in doing so. At this point, I don't think there's, I don't think we have anything formulated that we would present, but coming forward, there would be a suggestion, a recommendation coming to the council, or at least involving additional members to see if there's a interest in doing something with the inland port. The idea, or the reason the meeting came together was Wendy, Hassan, and I were in attendance at the Cache County Chamber Summit a couple months ago, and the Inland Port Office made a presentation, and Wendy and I both just thought we need to understand better what this means and if there is interest for Cache County. So just an informative meeting. Sean was tasked with getting some data so that we can have some input to a decision that would maybe come, some months down the road, but basically just an informative meeting. Okay, Sandy, is there anything I missed?
No, I think that there could be some really good financial benefits to our community to doing it there's a real possibility. So I'm anxious to explore that further and get more information. It's something that we should all be more, get more information about.
Yeah, to put one sentence on it, the purpose is to help improve the logistics of moving freight and supporting the economy.
In and out.
In and out, or it would benefit our local businesses and economy.
Good. Barbara?
I just have a comment that I'm grateful for the Cache County Rodeo. Yeah, the fair, I'm really looking forward to it this year. And I can remember 3 years ago, we got in trouble for approving having the county fair, and it was nothing, that was something that I've never regretted, that we went ahead with that county fair. And I'm excited about that, and I want these guys out here to know that I fully support you. Thank you to the veterans.
Sorry to step back. Did I catch that Mont was saying that he's been involved for 23 years? And the reason I bring that up, I have attended the rodeo at least one night every year since I've been married, and it's been 23 years. So
Wow.
I didn't realize that I started attending when he started, but it's been an amazing experience every year.
Do we know when the tickets are going on sale for the rodeo?
They're on sale.
They're on sale right now?
Yeah.
Oh,
But I have not heard any details on any other, ticket availability for the council yet. So Michael, you look into that.
It's all online.
Okay.
We opened that up to P and Z members last year.
Yeah.
yeah.
What's the date? Do we know the dates of the rodeo or the fair?
It's like the second weekend
Yeah,
of
10th
of August.
10th came to mind. But,
Yeah. Go ahead, Nolan.
I will ask all council members to be aware of some ordinances that are going to be coming through the planning and zoning. There's some sticky things in front of us there, so please dig into that, because those are important that we listen and see what P&Z passes to us, because there's some issues that we've got to be on. Dave Erickson, Catherine, and I attended the roads committee meeting this week, and I think we're all going to be shocked at the damage that's been done in the county to the washing, and there's going to be some budget issues there, so we need to be aware of that as well. So we've got some things coming up before the council that we need to make sure we're sticking and watching very carefully.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. I went and did a tour of the CJC with Mr. Bodley and Terrell, and the services that they provide for children and families and victims is amazing. They do incredible work. And I am humbled when I go there and see what those people do for the people of our community. It's beautiful. Also, we had our first open space meeting. It took us a little bit to find a time, but we're really going to be hitting that hard here in the beginning as we're trying to establish our bylaws and really try to identify. There's a lot that is vague in this, and we all know that that's some detracting elements of it is there at the level of vagueness, but we're really trying to narrow it down, and we have a really good committee. I think that we have there's a lot of different viewpoints that are going to be represented there, and I'm excited about that. So we're going to be hitting it every 2 weeks here in the beginning as we try to get some rules and some things set up, and then we might not have to meet quite as frequently, but we're working. We're getting it done. So we'll be meeting here at another, I think, next Monday. So I think our next meeting. So it's been good. But other than that, I don't know if I have, other than the roads meeting and the pictures. We just have a slideshow going of damaged road after damaged road after damaged road. It's kind of overwhelming. We got a lot that we need to fix after this winter.
Thank you. The force of water.
Yeah.
And by the way, 3 years ago, we did not get in trouble. You never get in trouble for standing up for what's right. I promise.
Well,
They may yell at you.
yeah,
but you
that's what
never
I
get- you
meant.
never
I
get
got in trouble. I got yelled at, let's put it that
But
way.
but that's not being in trouble. That's
Yeah.
standing up for what's right. USAC meeting, I believe a little reminder on Friday morning. I believe it's 8 o'clock. Committee, Zoom. Hopefully y'all got that. I know from the the road meeting that we had. I hope from all of this and with the changes and everything that we will have some possible policy pushback that we need to work with our Forest Service and getting some things, you know, with the delay in opening of some of those gates and everything has actually perpetuated a lot of road damage because they wouldn't let us in to prevent it. And I think that was pitiful on their part, and so we might have to get some pushback policy to take care of that, and we'll keep you abreast of that. I don't have anything else to report. There's a lot going on, and I appreciate all the support and everything that as a county council that we're working with. I worry about, I have not heard from Carl, though.
I haven't either.
Maybe.
We liked having the 3-week break.
Yeah, maybe he's still taking the break, so, anyway, hope things are okay there. Other than that, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded that we go into executive session for the discussion of the purchase, exchange, or lease of real property. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we will go into